London. It's a show where we talk about mental health and suicide prevention. Set a reminder for that. And just before I go, I want to let you know I care about your mental health. And you know what? Stick around right here on this station. Don't go nowhere. Welcome to another edition of your show, the MHAASP Show with KP on MZ Radio London and ADII Health and Suicide Prevention. It's such a wonderful thing to have you join me from wherever you are joining. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for staying tuned to your station. And like I keep saying, if you have someone who is not listening yet, go prod that person that the show is on, because as you know it, every program we have on MZ Radio London, AP Radio UK, they're for you. Soul lifting programs, wonderful songs that will lift your souls as well. Those are the songs that will play you, and then all these are for you. So you can just go ahead and do that right away. Wow. What are we going to do on the show today? Last week, we started talking about emotional abuse, that's healing from emotional abuse. And we had our guest, Fehintola Daniels, who is a family and abuse recovery therapist, in the building. And we started the topic, but time did not allow us to finish that week. But you know what? She's again in the building today to do justice to the topic. We're glad we invited her to come and conclude the topic, and she honored our call. Thank you so much, Fehintola Daniels. Welcome once again to the MHAASP show this week. How are you today?
Thank you. It's great to be here again. I'm glad I'm here.
So how has your week been? It's been a week, so how has it been so far?
It's been, I'll just say it's good.
But you thought about a whole lot of
not as we expected, yes, but we thank God, it's been a good week.
All right, that's good. The year is still early, a whole lot of things. And then considering the fact of how last year was, in some places, we are opening up somehow bit by bit. So the schedule is getting a little bit tight, a whole lot of commitments and the rest. But we're ready for 2021. So that's what we signed up for. So we're ready. 2021, we're ready for you.
Yes, so we're gradually picking up. And then we know that 2021, we're going to smash it. We're going to. That's the spirit, though.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. So for everyone who is listening out there as well, just go in that spirit of making 2021 your best year ever. Let it be better than 2020.
It seems better than 2020.
Yes. So that's the spirit. Yeah. So we're still on healing from emotional abuse, and I am so sure a whole lot of people are ready to hear what we have. To finish what we started last week. I want us to quickly do a brief recap of the last question we asked. I know you weren't able to finish the question before we ran out of time last week. And we were talking about how to deal with an abuser who you somewhat cannot avoid totally. So I wanted you started it, but I really want you to pick it up again and delve into it, so our listening audience can benefit from that. So how do you do that?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So last week we laid emphasis that emotional abuse can happen between parent and child, It can happen between employer and employee. It can also happen between in a love relationship, in a marriage. It can just happen between two people. So the question says that if in a case where you cannot leave, for example, a child or a teenager, and it's your mother or your guardian that is being abusive emotionally, or you're in a love relationship and then you're in love with that person, what do you do in such situations? What do you do? Okay.
Yes.
Like I said last time, I said that one of the ways to do that, it's so unfortunate that a lot of people treat abuse as a family matter, and emotional abuse in the sense that people cannot see the effect immediately. They cannot see when you're telling somebody that, oh, my mom abuses me, my mom does this to me, my mom is like this, people can't see it except they begin to see that, oh, you're being depressed or you're about to commit suicide or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in such cases, it's best to reach out to agencies. Like I said, reach out to agencies that can actually help. We have a lot of non-governmental organizations that are willing to come into these situations, because you cannot, how do you start explaining, or you can't even face your abuser. You can't. One of the another way is to try to seek help professionally, like see a professional counselor or therapist like that, or talk to somebody else that can talk to the abuser. Especially when it is a parent-child or parent-guardian or anything. Sometimes they don't even know they are being abusive. Sometimes they don't know. Yes. But oftentimes, some other times they know that they are doing it intentionally, right? But those ones that are not doing intentionally, when there's a superior, there's an uncle that can talk to them, or an auntie that can speak to them, or a pastor, or your spiritual leader, when you talk to them that this is what is happening, and then it's already having an effect on you, and people can see, or you can convince them, one or two things may be done. But most importantly, it's just for you to reach out. If not, you die in silence. And you know what? Depression, suicide attempts, they all thrive in silence. They thrive. So until you begin to open your mouth, you have to just open your mouth, and then help come.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's amazing. You spoke about report, and then you spoke about you reaching out to professionals and then speaking up. And then for those who are listening, you can take that to the bank. They will work if you use those strategies that Fehintola
You just
Daniels.
have to keep trying. I know a lot of people, I get to meet a lot of people every time when I sit with them in sessions. They will tell me, oh, they've tried and tried, they've spoken, they've done this, they've done that. You just have to keep
Okay.
rather than keep quiet. You have options. Is it that you talk or you keep quiet?
Good.
And see, when it gets to the level of depression or suicide, especially suicide does not solve it. Suicide does not end your problem. It only transfers it to another person. For someone that thinks, oh, I'm in debt and all that, I have to pay a huge amount of money to somebody, and you decide to end it.
Take your life.
You did not solve the problem. You only transferred it to another person. Maybe your wife, maybe a relative, and the wife is thinking, oh, how do I pay? Aside from the money, the wife will now fall into depression because the job of two people, the work of two people, the husband and the wife now becomes one person's own. Do you understand? Yes. So you have just transferred the issue to another person. So it's just not the way out. It's just not the way out.
Thank you. Now, you said something that will lead me to the next thing that I'm going to ask you. When people keep saying, I've done this, I've done that, and it's not working, or it didn't work, like you said, that you have to keep trying. Now, I know you have some success stories that you might share with our listening audience, And one thing about such stories is the fact that it will help you build courage, confidence, and assurance that it worked for someone. If it worked for someone, it's going to work for you. So that's going to be the next thing you're going to share with us, but it will be after this musical break. So let's take a breather right now and have a musical break. And when we come back, we will do that. The song of Shehu Ebenezer is right here. We'll be back.
Your favorite music on your favorite radio. MZ Radio London.
Welcome back, MZ Radio London, AP Radio UK, and it's the MHAASP show with KP. And I have Fehintola Daniels in the building with me, and we've been talking about healing from emotional abuse. I mean, the song that you just listened to talked about the fact that in the morning time, in the noon time, in the night time, God is right there for you. The thought of that alone should give you the courage to face each day and to weather the storm, come what may, to stand on your feet, hanging there, staying right there, because everything will be okay. Yeah, so just before we went on that break, I said you're going to tell us some success stories that you have, either one or two, depending on how much time we have left on the show. Over to you, Fehintola.
Okay, thank you very much again. I run a group therapy quarterly, every 3 months, for people that are emotionally and sexually abused to overcome their pain. And why I'm so excited to share this one is because during the course of this week, this particular lady shared her own testimony with me. I like to call it testimony. Her own testimony with me that, the way how she picked herself up. We've already said it earlier last week that one of the things that happen, one of the results are anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder and all that, fear, all of them. So this lady comes in, she's about 17. She comes in and said, she needed help. Her father was sexually abusing her. And her mom got to know. So in the process of her mom trying to fight for her and all, her mom lost her life. So there was this heavy hatred between the two of them. So the the father said, oh, she should go and stay with her uncle. So when she got to the uncle, one of the things I like to tell people is a number of times people say that, oh, they got abused some years ago and then they got to another place, they were still abused and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Abuse can repeat itself.
Repetitive
It can.
Abuse.
Yes, that is why people need to seek for help on time. If you do not seek for help, when you change your environment, somebody else would abuse you. Yes. It's just like when you walk into the room, and anytime I'm talking to you, KP, when you walk into the room and you see about 4 people gathered and you're heading somewhere, there's something that tells you, oh, ask the lady in red. You just feel, oh, let me ask that one in red. I think she's approachable.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
True.
There's an aura, or there's a sense of low self-esteem that comes with people that have been abused. So it's easy to for their predator to spot them. Why would you think that they would want to ask? Let me just say this: why they would ask such a person for sex, and why they want to pay another person? Is because they already saw that, oh, this one will not be able to say no. This one is afraid. Yes. So by the time this girl got to our uncle's place, our uncle already saw that, and the uncle continued from where the father stopped. So every time she tried to report to the auntie will just abuse her and tell her, oh, you cannot make it in life. You're just a useless being. And all no. Imagine someone being abused sexually and then being abused emotionally.
That's terrible.
Eventually, she spoke up to, not just that, our neighbors could see that, oh, this girl, there's a way you just walk. You just feel like, oh, you blame yourself. You feel like your life is not worth it. The neighbors will try to be friendly and all, and they too continued again, started abusing her. Until she spoke to a friend, and the friend told her, oh, you need to see this person, and then she came in. Eventually, she had to leave her uncle's place. She had to leave her father's place. We had to get a place for her. A safe place for her.
Yeah.
And then she continued with the therapy and all. This girl was lost. She didn't have a sense of identity anymore. She just wanted to die because every time she kept cutting herself, she was depressed already. When I sat with her, I had to bring her to. I had to help her to mourn those things that she had lost. I had to bring her to a safe place. And then I had to start doing reintegration for her. And then, do you know that this girl took a grip of herself, decided to go back to school with the help or without the help of her parents or family. And then she called me this week that she got admission into school. And then we were so excited that, oh, she got admission. At the same time, we were like, oh, where are we going to get the money from? But it was a good news. The fact that she could pick up herself. If you hear her use words of affirmation, you think she has made millions.
That's wonderful.
Because she now believes in herself.
That's
one of the stories I'm very, very proud of.
That speaks volumes about how help is necessary. Getting help from a professional, how important it is. And that's one of those things that we keep stressing on this show when we talk about mental health, suicide prevention.
Yes, it's important. I know that a lot of people hide under religion. I so much believe in God and all, but God has placed people in our lives to help us. Even the Bible says that if somebody is sick, you should speak to the elders. Elders in the sense that elders in their field, somebody that knows it. Is important. Sometimes somebody that has been sexually abused or emotionally abused, you're praying, you're fasting and all that. Meanwhile, the power to actually come out of it is right in our hands.
Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now that tells someone out there who is listening or is going to listen to this cast that, no matter how bad your story is, this is a success story that you can pick one or two things from and use it also as part of an encouragement for your own personal life to get yourself back up of emotional abuse or any form of abuse that you have suffered, and then you can still live a better life. Now, I'm going to ask you to give a form of final word of advice before we ask about how you can be reached, and then we'll wrap up finally. A form of, final word of advice and word of encouragement for someone out there who's been emotionally abused or any form of abuse, who has suffered any form of abuse.
Okay, great. Uh, I'm going to do that by sharing this story. It's a very short one. This lady came into therapy not because someone that she knows raped her or something. She was sexually assaulted by a stranger. She went to her boyfriend's place. Her boyfriend was trying to touch her, and then she ran out of the place. Getting out of the place, in Nigeria, she took a bike, and by the time she was heading to her own hostel, the bike passed a very dark corner, and then the bike man actually had his way through her. So when she came in, she was like, it's not that it's the sex that is a problem for her. That sex was not a problem for her. It was just the fact that he was a stranger. And she kept blaming herself. Oh, what if she had allowed her own boyfriend rape her? It would have been a different case entirely. So if you're listening to me right now, whether you have an explanation for that abuse or not, it is not. Whether your abuser had made you feel that if you had not worn that clothes or if you had not behaved in one way or the other, that he wouldn't have abused you, it's a lie. It is not your fault. I want you to know that. And I also want you to know that you are not alone. I know it might be lonely, it might be dark, it might be stressful, but you're not alone. It is not your fault, and you're not alone. Right help will come, and I want you to also seek for help. And you see that at the end of the tunnel, there's always light.
Oh, wow. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Fehintola Daniels, I can't thank you enough for coming to the show today. You've really brought light. You've shed light into so many areas concerning the topic of discourse. And it's been a wonderful thing having you. I know this is not the end of your coming to MZ Radio London, AP Radio UK. Yes, like we had you last week, we have you this week. I'm sure when we stretch our invitation across to you, you're definitely gonna answer yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So just before we let you go, and before we wrap up the show, can you just tell us how people can reach you on maybe social media, on your handles, and the rest?
Okay. My name is Fehintola Daniels across all social media platforms, across on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, even on YouTube. It's Fehintola Daniels.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So everybody listening, if you appreciate what you heard, which I do appreciate, you can go search for Fehintola Daniels on all social media platforms. Follow her, listen to all the materials she have there that you can listen to, read those ones that are readable, and then be good. Thank you so much for coming once again. We do appreciate. To everybody listening out there, next week we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder. So, you should stick around and have some knowledge about that particular mental health disorder. So that's what we have for you on MZ Radio London, AP Radio UK, trying as much as possible to spread the words of mental health and suicide prevention globally and make sure that you are fine, you're mentally healthy. Yeah. So till we come your way next week, a special thanks to Mr. Soji Harmony and Ophils, our able producers on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK, respectively. Stay mentally healthy. The song of Queen Imade, In the Name of Jesus. Catch you next week. Bye.